Just when I thought I was going to have nothing to talk about during the off week, Fox Sports does this? How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. I was about ready to take this week off and just relax like the rest of the drivers, but then of course I find out Fox Sports' NASCAR Race Hub is counting down the top 50 drivers of all time. And of course, I have to make a video about that. In fact, 2 videos. So that's what we're doing here today. Fox Sports on Monday released the first 25, so I guess numbers 26 through 50. And Tuesday, I guess you're watching this on Tuesday, so later today they will be counting down the top 25 through 1. And I'll react to that tomorrow. But today I thought I'd run through Fox Sports' list, give some of their reasonings, and maybe offer some of my own, and debate whether or not some of these maybe need to be flipped, moved around. Let's see. I'll start by reading off a list of the voters. There you see it. Here are the people who voted on this list. You have Adam Alexander, AJ Allmendinger, Todd Bodine, Alex Cabana, Jeff Gordon, Jeff Hammond, Mike Joy, Brad Keselowski, Chad Knaus, Blake Koch, Bobby Labonte, Larry McReynolds, Casey Mears, Phil Parsons, David Regan Smith, Shannon Spade, Caitlin Vincey, Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip, and Matt Yoakum. Whew, so an interesting mix of past drivers, a couple current drivers, and then some that are just analysts, TV people, and reporters. So it's an interesting mix. But now let's get down into the actual list. At 50, they had Joey Logano. At 49, Greg Biffle. At 48, Marvin Panch. 47, Jeff Burton. And 46, we have Tim Richmond. I'll stop right there for now because firstly, we have a couple names that new fans like me will obviously immediately recognize, and some older fans will recognize the other drivers, of course. Tim Richmond is interesting because his career was cut short, but he did have 13 wins in a relatively short amount of races, so seeing him in the top 50 doesn't bother me. I like that they got Greg Biffle ahead of Joey Logano. I gotta say, I agree with it. If you'd asked me 2 or 3 years ago where Joey Logano would have ranked up, I probably would have still had him there, but I would have thought at least that he was a shoo-in to one day be a top 30, top 40 driver for sure. But after looking at kind of the way he's performed the last year or two, if you ask me, I think Joey Logano has as much of a chance of falling out of the top 50 completely as he does maybe breaking into the top 20 by the end of his career. I mean, Logano's had championship level runs. He does not have a championship, but he's won a lot of races in a relatively short amount of time in a young career. But if he kind of goes the way he's been going the last year and a half, he may not be that impressive the rest of his career. Maybe he will probably fall out of the top 50 like a few other names on this list that aren't even mentioned that are kind of surprising. So anyway, I think that's kind of interesting. Let's move on. At 45, they had Richie Evans. 44, Sam Ard. 43, Neil Bonnet. 42, Curtis Turner, and 41, Alan Kulwicki. Now here we're in an era where I was not born or watching racing, so I'm just gonna look at the stats here. I found it interesting, they talked on Race Hub about how Richie Evans here didn't even run in the Cup Series ever. He won a bunch of titles in like the National Series or something. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they had him up there. Alan Kulwicki, very well known. He had a very short career, unfortunately, but he did win a championship in that time, and a lot of people, he was an icon for a lot of people. Some of these other guys, I've actually never heard of, like Curtis Turner. I've never heard of him, so I don't know much about some of these other guys, but they've obviously had somewhat successful careers as well. I'll take their word for it. This so far, it's actually, I've kind of agreed with this list. I like that they put Biffle ahead of Logano. That makes me kind of... We'll keep moving. The top 40 now. At number 40, we had Harry Gant. Number 39, Ricky Rudd. Number 38, Buddy Baker. Number 37, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And number 36, Martin Truex Jr. A lot of these make sense. These are names that a lot of us have probably heard of, even if we didn't watch them race. I gotta say, I'm intrigued by the fact that Martin Truex Jr. is ahead of Dale Earnhardt Jr. I know Dale Jr. never won a Cup championship, and Truex obviously just won his first. Truex only has 16 wins, however, compared to Jr.'s 26, and I know Dale Jr.'s run a few more races, not that many more races, but he's also been in competitive equipment for a longer period of time than Martin Truex Jr. has, so I can see putting Truex in there is fair. I think if you ask me this list again in 5 years, I think I'll definitely have Martin Truex ahead of Dale Earnhardt Jr., but I'm a little surprised that... And I noticed they didn't really debate that on Race Hub. They kind of acted like, oh yeah, that's just makes sense. Of course Truex is there. In fact, they kind of acted like they thought Junior might be a little high, or that they were trying to explain. They thought that fans at least would think Junior was too high. I don't know. 26 Cup wins, 2 Daytona 500 championships. He had 2 Xfinity championships as well. I mean, Dale Jr. had a great career. I think putting him in the top 40 here, what is he, 37? I think that's about right. I don't know. I agree with that. This next bit in the list gets a little interesting. We got a lot of names that a lot of us would recognize here. You got 35, Denny Hamlin. 34, Carl Edwards. 33, Bobby Labonte. 32, Davey Allison. And 31, Benny Parsons. Now, this is really interesting to me, even with the Junior at 37 and Martin Truex at 36. If you have Truex ahead of Dale Jr., he should probably be ahead of Denny Hamlin too. I mean, Hamlin has 31 wins in a shorter amount of time than Dale Jr., and he's still going, so he's probably going to get more. He's probably going to get close to 40, probably going to get to 40 by the end of his career. So I guess if you ask me this again in 3 or 4 years, definitely Hamlin is ahead of Jr., and if Hamlin ever wins a championship, if Hamlin were to win the championship this year, he would definitely be ahead of Truex. Right now they have him ahead of Truex, and I'm just trying to kind of gauge it. They seem to be giving the fact that Truex has one championship, they're giving that a lot of weight, which is fine. I understand it, but I gotta say, if he's ahead of Junior, he should also probably be ahead of Hamlin. And then Carl Edwards up there. Whereas Hamlin had 31 wins, Edwards only had 28. And they were in the Cup Series for about the same amount of time. I mean, Hamlin obviously raced last season and Carl didn't, and Hamlin's gonna continue to race and Carl probably never will again. Carl Edwards all the way up this high? I know he had an Xfinity championship, but if you ask me, I personally think Carl Edwards needs to be back there with Dale Jr. I think Truex, honestly, I'd put Truex ahead of him. If I'm going by their logic, the fact that they seem to be giving a championship that much weight. In fact, I think they even said that everyone with a championship, if you have one Cup Series championship, you're automatically like in the top 35 or something like that. If I'm going to go by that criteria, the way they did, Truex is ahead of Junior. Truex should be ahead of Carl Edwards at this point. I mean, I don't know why this seems surprising to me that this is a debate. Junior has 2 Xfinity championships. Edwards only has 1. Edwards has more wins in a slightly shorter amount of time, so I'll give Edwards the edge over Junior in that respect. But the fact that he's ahead of Truex and Denny Hamlin, I don't know if I agree with this one, Fox. I don't know about that. And then Bobby Labonte has less wins than these guys, but he does have a championship, so I can understand why he's up there ahead of them, and I understand why he's ahead of Truex, because they both have a championship, but Bobby's got more wins, so Truex might pass him at some point, but probably not yet. Davey Allison, another one. He didn't race for very long, unfortunately, but 19 wins, and I think it's 191 starts is what they said, or is what the number is there? It's something like that. That's a pretty darn good ratio for someone who didn't race for that long even, but that's a big enough sample size. That's a pretty crazy ratio. So I think it's fair to put him up there in the 30s for that reason alone. So anyway, Benny Parsons, 31. Okay, let's move on. Now we're into the top 30. We're getting into some pretty big names here. A lot of championships, a lot of wins here. Number 30, they had Fred Lorenzen. Number 29, Brad Keselowski. Number 28, Kurt Busch. Number 27, Rex White. And number 26, Texas Terry Labonte. And now this part of the list makes pretty good sense to me, except for why is Brad Keselowski behind Kurt Busch? I mean, you compare the two head to head. Kurt Busch and Keselowski both have 1 championship each. And Kurt Busch, I know, has 29 wins as opposed to Keselowski has 24. But Kurt Busch has been in the Cup Series for a lot longer, like almost a decade longer than Brad Keselowski. So Brad Keselowski's had almost half as long of a career as Kurt Busch, almost has caught him in wins. They're tied in championships. Why is Kurt Busch ahead of Brad Keselowski? I love Kurt Busch. Don't get me wrong, I love Kurt Busch. But why is he ahead of Keselowski? I don't get that. Don't know what they were thinking there. That's just me. Terry Labonte at 26, ahead of his brother Bobby Labonte. It makes sense. Terry Labonte had 2 Cup Series championships, right? And Bobby Labonte only had 1, so I think that alone 2 championships, and you're still at 26. I feel like that's a little low. He only had 22 career wins, which I guess isn't a lot, but hey, 2 championships will go a long way. So that right there is 26 through 50. I gotta say, this is a pretty intriguing list, and I'm even more intrigued by some of the names that we haven't gotten to yet that I can only assume will be on tomorrow's episode. Or I guess if you're watching Race Hub, it's on today, I guess. I mean, I'm just thinking about drivers in the sport today or recently that we haven't gotten to yet. Obviously, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, gotta believe those are gonna be pretty high up there. Kyle Busch, haven't gotten to him yet. Surprisingly, haven't gotten to Kevin Harvick or Matt Kenseth yet, so I'm happy. I think Kenseth, I was going to be mad if they didn't have him in the top 30. It looks like they're going to have him in the top 25, maybe top 20. I'm hoping for Matt. I'm hoping they put Kenseth in the top 20. I don't know if they will, but I hope they do. Jimmy Johnson, obviously, he's got to be up there. I'm really interested to see who they put at number 1. It's probably going to be Richard Petty. It's probably going to be Richard Petty is who they put at number 1, but I've been saying this for a little while now. I think you can make a serious case for Jimmy Johnson. That's just me. The fact that he's been so bad this year, or so inconsistent this year, I think hurts his case. But I'm just saying, you can make an argument. Anyway, guys, that is my episode today. I'll be back tomorrow talking about whoever they put as their top 25. I'll go over that much like I did today. Later this week, I will give a preview and give you my picks, my in-depth picks and analysis for this upcoming weekend's race at Texas Motor Speedway. I won't be at that race, unfortunately. A lot of you have been asking if I'll be at the race this weekend. I will not. I got Astros tickets, and hey, they're world champions, so I gotta gotta support the Astros when I can, but unfortunately it lands on the same day as the race, so I will not be at the race this weekend, but I'll try to watch as much of it as I can, and I hope it's a great race. Texas is a great track. If you're going to Texas, if you don't have tickets, but you're thinking about going, definitely go to Texas Motor Speedway. It's a great facility, great venue. I cannot hype it up enough. I'm wearing a t-shirt with the track's name on it. They did not pay me to do that, unfortunately. I'd love it if they did. Yeah, I'm hyping you up, Texas. Eddie, can you give me a check, please? But anyway, I'm losing my mind out here. Thanks for watching, guys. So follow me on Twitter, @DexRacing. Let me know, do you guys agree with Fox Sports? Remember, this is not my top 50 list or top 20, this is not my list, although I'm giving my opinion on it. This is Fox Sports list. So if you're horribly enraged that Dale Jr. is at 37, don't come after me too much. It's not my list. But I think y'all get that. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you again later this week. Have a good one.